Hello everyone and welcome back to the Chess24 Legends of Chess tournament, and here we have a very nice game that I knew I was going to show as soon as I saw the second move on the board, and you of course know what I mean due to the thumbnail. So without further ado, let's check it out. True legends of the game, Vasily Ivanchuk and Peter Leko. Let's see what's happening here. We have e4, sorry about that. By Chuki and e5. We have f4, Ivanchuk goes for the king's gambit, and Leko accepts. We have e captures on f4. We have knight to f3, and now there are millions of options here. Well, not millions, but a lot of options here, a lot of defenses for black that were considered, that are still being considered. The g5 very popular, d5 very popular, d6 very popular. However, Leko goes for h6. It's a very rarely played defense called the Becker's defense, and it kind of prepares g5. Black just wants to keep everything here, and probably thinking that Vasily is not all that well versed in this particular line. So d4, you usually want to grab the center when your opponent doesn't, so now we have immense control of the central squares here, and g5 now. Vasily continues in the spirit of the king's gambit and goes g3, continues opening lines. So we have f captures on g3, and now h captures on g3. Had this been Morphy, probably we'd see something like bishop to c4 trying to give up yet another pawn, but this is 2020. So we will not see all that many pawn sacrifices. So h captures on g3, and now bishop to g7. Just continuing development, we have knight to c3 and d6 now, not allowing any e5 anytime soon. And this position has been reached once before. In 1999 in the Russian Championship, Alexander Grishuk had it against Lunev, where bishop to c4 was played, but here Vasily goes for bishop to e3, and it is as of move 8 that we have a completely new game. So let's see how Leko deals with this. We have knight to f6, a continuing development, and queen to d2. Here, of course, white wants the castle queenside, so knight to g4, going after that strong dark square bishop, but bishop back to g1, not allowing this trade. So knight to c6, again continuing development, and here we have a queenside castle. We have a kingside castle by Leko, not afraid of this position really being expanded here on the king side, and he says, I'm just very solid here. And if this was some sort of a classical game, we'd probably see king to b1, a nice prophylactic move, and only then starting the attack, but this is rapid chess, and Vasily says it's time to strike right away. So knight to h2. Saying that either he will trade here, or if a knight captures, then he already gets his rook on h2, because at some point he wants to make a rook lift and bring this rook over to h1. So it works both ways. Leko decides to trade here. We have knight captures, rook captures, and now bishop to g4, a nice developing move on the rook. While you could block, then you invite queen d7, and you just allow a more natural developing plan for black. So rook to e1, just moving the rook. And knight to e7 now. The knight is coming to g6, where it will help out with the defense of the king. So bishop g2, and now queen to d7, defending the bishop, also preparing to bring this rook into the game. We have bishop to e3 now, and knight to g6 as planned. Then now rook e to h1. And now there's a lot of pressure here on the king side. There's the queen, the bishop just attacking here, the two rooks doubled up. And at some point you are hoping to get this bishop somewhere, probably somewhere through f1 to d3, and bring it over to this diagonal, and white will have a very nice attacking setup. So here we have c6 by Leko. He just continues development, takes away these two squares from the white knight. Next probably will bring the rook into the game, and here we could see a lot of interesting moves. We could see a nice knight maneuver here going after the bishop. We could see a nice prophylactic king to b1. A lot of options here. However, Vasily goes for rook captures on h6, and it's such a lovely idea, just giving up the exchange to change the character of the game. He wants to keep on attacking. He will be up a pawn, so it's not all that bad. So Leko captures, and we have rook captures. We have king to g7, now preparing to grab the rook, and bishop captures on g5. So white is attacking, he's up a pawn, but down the exchange. And now f6, very strong move by Leko, creates an escape route for the king, and also takes care of the e5 square, so white will have some problems playing e5. Also, the bishop is now under attack, so bishop back to e3, and now rook to h8. Of course, Leko wants to trade down, he's up material, so it's only natural to want to trade down. We have b3, making an escape route for the king, so you don't have any back rank weaknesses. And now rook captures on h6, bishop captures with check, and king to h7 now. And here bishop to f1. Now as the king lands on h7, the bishop wants to get to d3 to grab hold of this diagonal, and you are very happy with your bishop being defended here. Black is a material, however, with the king being so loosely placed on h7, it's not all that clear. So bishop to h3, trying to trade off one of Vasily's attackers, and now bishop to e2. I thought bishop to d3 was the way to go. I don't really understand bishop to e2. I'm sure there's like some sort of a plan, maybe bring it over here or something, maybe try and lock out the light square bishop if the queen moves. So I guess it's sort of a waiting move, but I don't have any exact ideas of why bishop to e2, as the bishop does belong here on d3. So here rook to e8, putting pressure on this pawn, and now king to b2, just a much safer square for the king. We have b5 now, preparing b4 to dislodge the knight away from here, and then just pick up the e4 pawn, and only now bishop to d3. So first bishop e2, only then bishop to d3. I'm sure there's a reason somewhere. I just didn't spot it. And here we have queen to g4, going after the g3 pawn. We have bishop back to e3, and now comes b4, finally dislodging this knight. We have knight to d1, and queen captures on g3. So Leko grabs this pawn, but he gives up the b4 pawn on the queen side. So queen captures on b4, and here we have bishop to g4, attacking the knight on d1. And it's a really tough position for white to be in, unless you're Vasily Ivanchuk and you find the winning move for white. So feel free to pause the video here and try to find the absolute best move for white while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting, well, we could call it a Tal move, we could call it whatever you want, but it is Vasily Ivanchuk that played it. So here, for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's e5. And it's such a wonderful move, just gives up the knight on d1. The problem with capturing the knight on d1 right away is that you have queen b7 check, and now black has a lot of problems. The bishop covers this square, so you can't move the king here. If you block with the rook, then just captures the knight is pinned. There's no capturing there. So after this queen b7 check, you'd have to go somewhere along the back rank, let's say rook h8. But now just queen captures on c6. You attack the rook here, and once the rook moves, now you have this queen h1 check, for example, checking the king and winning back your bishop. So let's say queen h4, you're gonna pick up the bishop, and now you're still down the exchange, but with the bishop pair and the black king so wide open, it will be an impossible game to play for black. So instead, after this e5 move, Leko decides to play f5. He closes the light square bishop's diagonal, but now we have queen captures on d6. And now all of a sudden, white created this beautiful passed e pawn. He's going to capture on c6, and you know, things aren't looking all that great for Leko. So bishop captures on d1. What is White's plan now? He's down. Now he's down a full rook. If you look at it now, he was down the exchange, but now with the sacrificed piece, he is down a full rook. So just bishop captures on f5, nicely threatening the knight here. And of course, if you capture another piece, then you're just getting checkmated. Check, you have to move, and then this is just mate. So of course, the bishop, this must be defended. So here, rook to g8, and now we have bishop back to d2, just getting the bishop out of harm's way. And you are down a whole rook, but Vasily doesn't care, and he says, okay, Leko, it's your move. So Leko brings back the bishop. He wants to trade, of course, but now comes queen to e7 with check, playing the absolute best moves. This is just crazy. So the knight is pinned, the queen cannot be captured. Bishop guarding this. Here you can see the full power of the bishop pair from hell. And the problem is, let's say rook king h8, you're getting mate. Just queen f6 check, king h7, queen f7 check, rook can block. But now bishop captures here. Neither the king or the rook can capture. King moves, queen f8 check. You're gonna go here, and now this is just checkmate. So after queen e7 check, you have to block with the rook. But now it's just queen to g5, and now instead of black successfully trading off the bishop, you are just gonna win a piece here. So queen h2, saying that okay, if the queen captures, at least I can capture here. But now we have just bishop captures on g4. And okay, black still up the exchange, but the bishop pair from hell is here, the passed e-pawn, and with the black king being so wide open, it's very, very hard to play this. Knight e7 from Leko, opening up a double attack here, but queen to h5 check. Now it's just a matter of technique. You trade down into an endgame, you're still down the exchange, but 3 extra pawns will do quite nicely. So rook g2, attacking the bishop, bishop b4 now, attacking the knight, and it is quite the most precise way, knight to d5, and now just bishop f3 with a double attack here. Rook to f2, captures, captures, and now it's a bishop against rook, but 3 extra pawns. So bishop c5, and now just preparing to push the pawns on the queen side. We have a6 and b4, preparing a4 and b5. So king to g6, Leko has to shift the king all the way to the queen side to try and survive this, but a4. We have king f5 and now b5. A captures, the passed b pawn has been created. Now white has 2 passed pawns. King to e7. We have b6 and now king to d7 and king b3. Now preparing to bring the king also into the game. King c6 and now c4, getting rid of that last pawn. So d captures, king captures, and now rook to f4, preventing d5 as the pawn is now pinned, but now e6. So one of the 3 pawns is definitely going somewhere. We have rook e4, Leko puts the rook behind the passed pawn, but e7. That pawn is nicely protected now. King d7, but now even b7. We have king to c7, and now for the last time, feel free to pause the video and find the quickest way to victory while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on being an excellent spotter of tactics in an endgame. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's bishop to d6 check. A final sacrifice to end the game. And before I show you why this is winning, I will take this moment to award Vasily Ivanchuk with a nice Morphe head for this spectacular attacking game. Well, now it's just lost because if you capture the bishop, this pawn queens, and if you don't, if you go for the pawn, then the point of this bishop check was bishop e5. The rook no longer guards the e8 square, and on the next move the pawn is queening, and that's just game over. So yeah, the funny thing is that Leko was leading the match up until the 4th game. This is game 4, and Vasily had to go all out to win the game, and he did with none other than the King's Gambit. And then, of course, they went into the Armageddon. However, it was Peter Leko who won the Armageddon game, and thus the match. But they are each awarded. Vasily is also awarded a point, as if you just reach Armageddon, then you don't just lose the match and get 0 points. You are awarded 1 point for reaching Armageddon. So quite the development and quite the game. I do hope you enjoyed it, and we're gonna show some more games, and then we're gonna discuss about the standings. As I don't know if I will be able to cover any more games from round 1, but in case I will, I don't want to spoil like the results just yet. So yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. Nice Morphe-esque game by Vasily Ivanchuk, or was it maybe a nice Mr. Barnes game? We still have to think about that. However, I would like to thank McCarthy Fitch, Harry Mackenzie, Gerald Rosen, Juan Castro Zumeta, and Macduff Hughes for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Chess24 Legends of Chess tournament, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.